Hey, history peeps, grab your tea because this era was dripping with drama. I'm talking global tensions, courtroom battles, cultural shakeups, and some seriously bold political moves. Honestly, reality TV wishes it had this much going on. From the race to stop communism to the marches for equality to putting a man on the moon, America was going through it. Let's spill the tea on all of it because this Cold War drama was just the beginning. So, right after World War II, the US and the Soviet Union went from awkward allies to full blown rivals. Think democracy versus communism. It was a staring contest, Cold War style. The Truman Doctrine? That was Uncle Sam saying, we'll give you money and military support to keep the communists out. The Marshall Plan? More money. Lots more money. This time to rebuild Western Europe so it didn't go red. A squad of Western allies? That's NATO saying, mess with one of us, and you mess with all of us. But at home? Oh, honey, the fear was real. Welcome to the Red Scare, where everyone was convinced that the communists were hiding behind every filing cabinet. Enter Senator McCarthy, pointing fingers like Oprah, giving out cars. You're a communist! You're a communist! You're a communist! Careers destroyed. Reputations trashed. Evidence? Yeah, not so much. If you got dragged in front of the House Un American Activities Committee or HUAC and refused to answer, blacklisted. They even made kids practice duck and cover drills, like hiding under a desk was going to save them from a nuclear blast. It wasn't just a war of bombs, it was a war of ideas, fear, and paranoia, served with a side of censorship. Then, in 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the first satellite to orbit Earth. It went beep, 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 and America went full panic. Suddenly, we were like, wait, they can put rockets in space, and boom, NASA was born. Schools shifted into overdrive. More math, more science, more pressure. The U.S. was ready to raise a generation of engineers, scientists, and astronauts. The message? We cannot fall behind. And in 1969, when Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, America declared a victory with one small step for man and one huge flex for democracy. But the space race didn't just stay in orbit. The push for scientific progress gave us satellites, and now we get weather reports and global communication. It gave us computers, the giant room size kind. It gave us microwaves, memory foam, and even Tang. Cold War competition? Yeah, it launched us into the future. After World War II, America went baby crazy. It was the baby boom, and all those babies needed houses, schools, and TV time. Thanks to the GI Bill, returning soldiers got help buying homes and going to college. Enter the suburbs. Rows of houses, white picket fences, and backyards perfect for barbecues. And don't even get me started on television, it was the new family member. Shows like Leave It to Beaver sold the American dream, but they also left out entire communities. Real life? Way more complicated. But wow, did consumer culture take off? We had Tupperware parties, frozen dinners, tail fins on cars. Life looked shiny, but under the surface, inequality, fear, and tension bubbled. And don't forget the Interstate Highway Act signed by President Eisenhower in 1956. It built thousands of miles of roads, making it easier to get from city to suburb. But it wasn't just about road trips and new drive throughs. It was also a Cold War defense plan. If the Soviets attacked, those highways would help evacuate cities fast and move military equipment. It was smart and stylish. Now, while we were watching the skies, change was happening on the streets. In 1954, the Supreme Court dropped a bomb of its own, Brown versus the Board of Education. Segregated schools? Unconstitutional. Cue resistance. Some states fought back hard, but the Little Rock Nine walked through that schoolhouse door with federal troops at their sides. And then came the marches, the sit ins, the freedom rides. Dr. King preached nonviolence. Malcolm X said, by any means necessary. The Black Panther said, protect our communities. Meanwhile, Cesar Chavez led farm workers. Dolores Huerta organized for justice, and the American Indian movement fought for native rights. Different voices, different tactics, but all pushing for equality. Congress finally got the message. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 helped expand rights to these communities. The movement forever changed America, but not without a struggle. Well, while the protests filled the streets and rockets lit the sky, President Lyndon B. Johnson had his eyes on a different kind of mission: ending poverty and injustice at home. He called it the Great Society, and it was a massive to do list. We're going to get Medicare for the elderly. We're going to get Medicaid for the poor. We're going to create Head Start to give kids a strong beginning. We're going to get some clean air and some clean water, and we're going to have a war on poverty with programs like Vista and Job Corps. He wasn't just throwing programs at problems, he was trying to lift people up, close gaps, and make equality a reality. Was it expensive? Yes. Did Vietnam drain some of the momentum? Also, yes. But the Great Society reshaped the federal government's role and its promises. All right, let's hit some turning point years. These were game changers, so let's break it down. 1957, Sputnik launched, kicked off the space race. That same year, the Little Rock Nine faced down segregation, and federal troops showed up to protect them. Fast forward to 1968, Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy were assassinated. The Democratic National Convention erupted in chaos, and the Democratic Party faltered and lost control. Nixon won the election with the promise of law and order. In 1969, the U.S. landed on the moon. It was a Cold War victory, but back home, the Vietnam War was raging on and divisions were growing. Each year, a snapshot of hope, heartbreak, and history in motion. So, what's the tea, y'all? The Cold War shaped how we lived, learned, and launched into space. Civil rights leaders shook the nation and made it better. The suburbs boomed while protest movements rose up, and government reform tried to meet the moment. This wasn't just a time of tension, it was a time of transformation. And guess what? The story isn't over, it's still being written. So sip that tea, stay curious, and remember, you are part of the story. Happy studying. Bye.